Hello, everybody. Uh, my title to be presented, as you can see, is cost minimization design for Hyperloop network with heuristically optimized location and number of station. My co-author is Han-Sol Liu, who is my PhD graduate student, and Brian Park, attending here, who is a professor at University of Virginia, and the other co-author is Jong Hak Kim. He is a senior researcher at Korean Research Institute for Human Settlement, so-called CRIS. Okay. That one. Okay, that one. I'm going to present following order. First, I'm going to talk about motivation of this study, and then I'm going to a little bit discuss about characteristic of Hyperloop while comparing with other modes. And then briefly, I will talk about some concept of transit network systems with the line structure. And then I will explain some network design process to find a proper network for Hyperloop. And finally, I'm going to talk about mode choice and its result. Since Elon Musk introduced Hyperloop concept in 2012, technology related to Hyperloop have progressed. As a result, Hyperloop became a more and more actualized and applicable into a real world. However, many research and scientists focusing on vehicle technology itself or mechanical structure of vacuum tube, but while they just focusing, assuming all the network is ready to operate. But as you know, many transportation infrastructure needed to be get some idea and then planning and design and construction before operating readily. Usually it takes about 10 to 20 years. So we need to study in advance that technology become complete. That's why we need to study about some designing concept for Hyperloop networks. This table is kind of a summarize of a characteristic of Hyperloop. You can see speed of Hyperloop is very close or higher than airplane, and then much faster than high-speed rail, 3 or 4 times faster. And vehicle capacity is much smaller than rail and high-speed rail, even smaller than a bus. Headway, it is become shorter than, much shorter than rail and high-speed rail. You can easily calculate vehicle capacity and headway. Headway can be, you can convert to frequency of for per unit hour, unit time. So you can get line capacity. That line capacity pretty depending on vehicle capacity. So probably Hyperloop can be increased than this one, because if you can connect the vehicle using by technology, using by Hyperloop, probably increase your line capacity. From this characteristic imply that some give some intuition about giving idea about some network design, Hyperloop network design. In aspect of super highway, super high speed aspect, means Hyperloop can solve very broad area, like an airplane. And not like an airplane, Hyperloop is on the ground transport mode, which means you can access directly to center of cities. That means better accessibility mode, right, than airplane. And it can operate by fully automatic system, which means you can adopt smaller vehicle. Smaller vehicle means you can dispatch more frequently. That means traveler aspect, you don't have to wait a long time to get in vehicle, right? And that means you can using smaller vehicle capacity, meaning is such a transport mode can be applied to relatively small OD pairs that can be not solved by rail or high-speed rail. The other aspect is Hyperloop using exclusive right-of-way, like a rail, right? That means there is no congestion between vehicle by interrupting by some other type of vehicle. So you can get very reliable travel time. And the other aspect is very relatively not really a short distance for acceleration and deceleration, but if you consider the high, really super high speed, if you consider them, it's a relatively very short acceleration required distance. That means you can keep very maximum high speed during most of the part of your travel. And also, you can keep some safety operation. The other one is, it is not a disadvantage, maybe a disadvantage. You can see in the bottom of screen, okay. You can see bottom of picture, very small space for inside of vehicle, meaning is every traveler have to sit during the travel, moving. That means very long trip cannot stand for probably traveler. So that is limited some long travel time. This one is kind of example of station of Hyperloop. As we discussed, Hyperloop is small capacity of vehicle and really frequent dispatching. So that require a lot of platform for the station. And then this one is super high speed. Usually, high speed mean is about under 600 kilometer per hour. If over 600 kilometer hour, we can call super high speed, because it is not easy to in just air. Only it can run during the vacuum tube only. You can see this travel time between New York to LA takes about 3 hours and 15 minutes. It's similar to airplane, right? And from New York to Chicago, it takes about an hour. LA to Chicago, about 1 hour and 40 minutes. It's pretty fast. And then network design for whole United States probably can be possible. And I would like to talk about concept of transit network system and line structure. One concept is one-to-one system. one-to-one system is from the old of origin to another old destination. Each OD pair is directly connected without transfer, which means you need a lot of line. Each line have to prepare for each OD pair. Meaning is can be very low demand. Low demand means that operation will be maybe some OD pair is not economical. So we cannot supply all the line in this case. But in aspect of a traveler, he don't need any transfer and convenient. The other concept is many-to-many system, so-called hub and spoke system. Small demand cities collected together to big city or any hub station make bigger demand. Then from origin hub to destination hub make bigger demand and make economical to operate. Then distribute each destination for a smaller destination. That makes more economical, and as you can see, all the OD pair can be connected, but traveler have to transfer twice. And the other concept of network design, one line is express line. The other case is just a normal line. Express line is you just skip small demand area and directly connect to major demand area. However, normal line is every city you're gonna stop. So express line has a little bit less accessibility, but higher speed and lower travel time. But normal line is higher accessibility they have, but lower speed and more travel time you require. Then, as we talked about before, characteristic of HyperLoop, and transient network design concept, what kind of network will be proper for HyperLoop? So we suggest one-to-one system for HyperLoop by introducing two separate vacuum tubes. One is bypass trunk vacuum tube and also ingress and access vacuum tube. So we have two different systems. Then we can connect directly from origin to destination without transfer and also without intermediate stop. So we can keep maximum speed between origin and destination. So this one is kind of showing some example one. You can see any OD pair can be directly connected while just passing, not related to this destination, just bypass that trunk line. Our network design process is following 3 steps. First step is choosing some set of maximum cities to be served by HyperLoop. And then we're gonna run minimum spanning tree algorithm. I'm gonna call this one is MST hereafter. And then get some minimum tree. Then we try to find out from that result, we got some idea. Then we define major trunk axis in whole South Korea nationwide network. Then we combine network for each corridor and we combine all the network. Then more realistical to make a more realistic network, we're gonna do simplificate and also refining the network. That is South Korea's map. And then we try to choose biggest city, from the biggest city to lowest city. First, biggest 30 cities population is about 75% of total Korean population. If we choose biggest 66 cities, it's going to be about 89% of total population. So our researchers decide 60 cities, biggest 66 cities is alternative or possible city to be solved by HyperLoop. Then, briefly, I'm going to just give some idea about MST. That is a formula for the that is formula of mathematical form for TST. It's just minimize objective function, right? Cost. And then right graph is result of that solution. That minimize all connected link that make minimum cost, right? And then our study using cost function is combination of demand and distance. Distance is really quite correlated with cost of construction. So we combination using demand and distance. And we using, because of this one is different unit they have, so we using ratio of from some OD traffic trip demand per maximum demand of all of out of all OD pairs. Then we try to run MST for each set of cities. For example, 10 biggest city, we run MST. And 20, we run MST. And 30, 40, 50, we run all possible set of cities, we run and got solution like this picture. Then we overlap such a network into one nationwide network. Then compare with desired line of travel demand. So as you can see, some demand is, thicker one is really dense demand, and thin line is lower demand axis. Then we found major 4 axes for the line, Hyperloop line. So north, east-west axis, and 2 north-south axis, and south-east-west axis. But it is not too worth to note that one is, you can see this axis, demand axis is, one is very, demand is condensed, very concentrated. So probably Hyperloop capacity is not enough for one line. So probably we need more line for this axis. So finally, we decide 6 axes. We call it north, east, west corridor, and West Sea, north-south corridor. And there is Gwangju City, Seoul to Gwangju, Gwangju, north-south corridor. And there is Busan, Seoul to Busan, Busan, north-south corridor, and East Sea corridor. We defined 6 corridors Then, for each corridor, we run again MTS, MST. Then the result is like this picture. Each corridor has each solution. Then we overlap and combine these 6 networks into one nationwide network. And then we carefully look at the network itself. Then there is some network is not realistic in real demand if we considering the demand and network itself. So we try to simplify and refine the network heuristically, not mathematically. For example, this area, as you can see in the demand, this is Seoul area, Seoul metropolitan area. All the demand is concentrated to Seoul area, right? So we especially concern about this Seoul metropolitan area. And then we simplified from the mathematical solution, we simplified some fewer cities to be served because cities is very close to each other. So we simplified that one. Then we refining network, make some loop and circle, and because this area is very dense area, we have alternative paths and try to keep large the capacities. And also we look at nationwide network. Still some places remove cities and simplified and refined, and then finally we got such a network. So we finally suggest this HyperLoop network for the future in South Korea. Then we analyze mode choice just with typical model, multinomial Lorenz model, and utility function. Actually, the utility function is officially distributed by the Korean government for transport infrastructure feasibility study. That result is as like this one. In upper graph saying, maybe we analyze actually all the OD pair, but I don't have to explain all the pairs. So I'm going to explain just major OD pair that is highly dense, demand dense corridor. So biggest city from Seoul to Daejeon and Daegu and Busan is biggest city on the line. So this one is if you introduce HyperLoop in South Korea, how it's going to be changed? What mode shift will be happen? So this one is automobile. Light gray is Daejeon. Middle one is Daegu. Darkest one is Busan. So it's become distance is longer and longer, right? From automobile, from bus, from rail, from high rail speed mode. This 4 mode is exist right now, right? So if we build HyperLoop, they reduce mode share, and newly HyperLoop got in. If distance is become longer and longer, that mode shift is become larger and larger. So this one comparing without HyperLoop and with HyperLoop for 3 OD pair. Then if you look at that, currently that is high rail speed mode shares. And this one is high speed rail mode share and newly introduce Hyperloop becomes larger than that high speed rail. If distance increase, the gap is become more bigger. That is my present all. Thank you so much.